You poser. Do you know what? This is the first time that we started a show, and in the green room, James was not dancing. He's got his
I'm
nose in a
sorry.
book. Is it
I'm
the right
sorry.
way up? Are you just posing?
No, no. But do you ever read a book like that where you kind of get lost in a book? Is that not the great thing about books? Is when you get that good one, you just kind of everything just kind of drifts away, and you just get focused on that book. Are you reading any books just now that you're kind of getting lost in, Maria?
I'm reading 5 at a time. I'm terrible.
Oh,
I
you
read lots. I'm
overachiever.
awful. No, but it's no, because I'll read a bit from one and then I want to read. So I've always done that, and they're in a pile. So yes, I like to read several books at once. And I've also got my reading list ready because I've booked a holiday and I've got my reading list ready for my holiday.
So tell me, are
Yes.
you going to have Kindle or real
No,
book
I like paperback. I like to scribble and
on the
write on
beach?
it, and yeah, and also no, definitely. Anyway, what are we doing today? Seeing as you had a book in your hand, is it a subtle hint?
We are very, very subtle. Today is all about books. Our guest today is Jessica Killingley. And Jessica is a literary agent, publishing coach, consultant, and life coach, an accidental serial entrepreneur. She runs a business that supports founders, consultants, and coaches who want to write and self-publish books that grow their business and their profile. Her podcast, The Authority Show, gives aspiring nonfiction authors the inside track into what it really takes to get a book out there that turns readers into clients. After working for over 20 years in the publishing industry, she also co-founded the BKS Agency, a literary management agency based in London with 2 friends. They currently represent around 75 authors globally across a wide range of fiction and non-fiction genres. Their authors include Sunday Times bestsellers, Olympic athletes, gifted storytellers, international speakers, entrepreneurs, journalists, consultants, and experts in their field. Jessica's interests lie in business, personal development, and smart thinking projects, and she is currently she's always looking for authors who have strong brands in their fields to be the thought leaders of tomorrow. Please welcome to the show, Jessica Killingley.
Hello, thank you both very much.
Welcome,
Hello,
Jessica.
hello.
Hello, I'm a bit disappointed that we didn't have a dance break in the green room if this is what normally happens.
Yeah, we do like a dance. You can dance at the end because there'll be a little bit more music afterwards. It's James calls it a theme tune that sounds a bit like a TV show, doesn't it? Like a game show. But I like it. I like it. So we get to keep it. Jessica, writing a book is hard. I know. I've written my book and I haven't done anything with it. I put it aside. It's really hard work. James has written books and is writing another book. It's hard. Should we bother?
Well, obviously, I'm biased because I've been doing this for 25 years. I always say, "Cut me, and I will bleed ink." But yes, I really, really think, particularly when you're thinking about nonfiction writing as well. You know, if you're a speaker, you're in the business of sharing ideas that are going to solve a problem, improve someone's life, make things easier, whether it's in business or personal. Being able to put all of that into a book is, you know, in this day and age where so much content is quite ephemeral and you know, been and gone in a flash, having that sort of, you know, the longevity, the legacy, the platinum business card of a book to your name is always going to be a really, really valuable piece of currency. It can feel like hard work, and I think, you know, there are ways to make it feel a little bit easier. But one of the really specific things I always like to kind of point people to, for a reason why it's a great thing for them to have in their kind of toolkit when they're working with people, is if you think about why somebody, whatever it is, whatever service or you know, thing that you're providing, why someone wouldn't work with you, wouldn't want to take you up on what it is that you help them with. 9 times out of 10, it's not you. They think you're great. It's them. They believe that my business won't get those results. I won't get those results with you as a coach, whatever it is. And they think that they are the problem. Your book is an incredibly effective way of kind of pushing through all of those blocks that somebody has to actually teach somebody how whatever the results that you're in the business of delivering are possible for them. So it's a really kind of neat little way of giving somebody a result, but also opening up a huge kind of world of possibilities for how far that they can go with whatever it is working with you might bring to them.
What was interesting when we were in the green room, you said something after I told you that I'd written my book, and I'd like to expand on this as well. You said that sometimes we write the wrong book, and that scares me a bit too. So I think I've written the wrong book. How does that happen? What did I do wrong? What step did I miss?
Funnily enough, it's the first step. I'm a really, really big believer of like kind of, when I meet people both as consultant or as signing them on as their agent, I always want to know what people's end game is. I want to know, where are you going? Like, why are you writing this book? You know, there is lots of people, oh, well, because it would look cool on my CV or what have you. But the mistake that people often make is thinking, oh, I know about this, so this is what I'm going to write a book about. Is that the book that your audience need to read? And it's really about thinking, where am I going? Not am I writing a book for where I am now, but are you writing a book for where you want to be in your career, in your speaking business or your coaching or consulting in 3 years' time, in 5 years' time? And it's writing the book that's going to get you there, that's going to bring those readers along with you. Because otherwise you do have that thing of like, oh, I know this. By the time you've written the book, you're like, I'm not there anymore. I want to be going here. And then when you start to think about what is the book that people need to read, you're able to then reverse engineer, right, how do I combine what I want to be doing with what people need to hear from me? And then that's when you start to kind of get into the planning stages of it. But I always recommend that the more time you spend, when you just make the decision to start writing a book, you don't sit down and put pen to paper that day. The early stages of how are you actually thinking about what this book is going to do for you, that the more time you spend there, the easier and the quicker the sort of writing part will be.
So in speakers, I know a lot of people listen to this show, that I often think they're probably one of three type of speaker. They might be just kind of getting started. Maybe they've got a 9-to-5 job, they've got a consulting gig, they've got something else, but speaking doesn't make them up the main part of what they do, but it's something they want to, hopefully increase and improve over time. The kind of middle class, I guess, of speakers, often they're a member of maybe speakers associations. They're, 75-80% of their income is coming from going out there, speaking at conferences. And then you have this third kind of grouping, I guess, of the superstar speakers, the people you're going to see headlined on those larger stages, the Marie Forleos of this world, or the Mel Robbins, for example. And I wonder, when you're having conversations with those three types of speakers, how does that change the type of route they might go down? Whether they go more in that kind of self-published route, or a hybrid route, or going with a traditional publisher. What advice would you be giving to each of those three different groups?
That's a great question. And actually, almost like how you just laid out the sort of three stages with those three different publishing options would be my advice. I think when you are just starting out, and I've got clients that I work with, and when they came to me, they didn't even really think that they could, that maybe they'd done a little bit of speaking at their kids' school or in their church group. The beauty of self-publishing, or for example, using the Amazon platform and doing it on the KDP platform, is it's incredibly easy to do. It's not very expensive. It's very quick. Those barriers to entry are low. You still need to be putting out a quality product, and we can talk more about how you make your book a quality product. But when you're not in a situation where you're investing thousands of pounds in the process, and you're in those early stages, doing it is still very important. But self-publishing in that way is a great way of doing it. I mean, the one thing I would say about all three of your groups of speakers, they all need to get booked. It doesn't matter how high up the chain you are, you still need somebody to book you. And so you still have to have that kind of calling card of, what it is that you're going to, someone's booking you, they want to know, well, what are you going to deliver to my audience? And having that book is a really, really brilliant way. So I always kind of say to people, particularly who maybe aren't quite at the Marie Forleo level, I think people know what she's about. But, having the book is a great way to set you apart from other people who might also be pitching for speaking slots, because you can physically send it to the booker with a note saying, chapter 3, that's a big part of what my keynote is. This is what I kind of deliver. This is what you can expect from me. So having that kind of tangible physical product to help make your case to get booked is really helpful. When you've got that middle group of people, I think hybrid publishing is a great thing. Now, hybrid publishing is a bit of a mysterious thing. People think, oh, is it like vanity publishing, which was that's not really what it is. It's about working with a kind of a publishing, a small independent publishing company, and you're entering into a partnership with them. So you are paying for their publishing services, which means that you know that you're going to get a very, very good quality product out of it, because you're going to get some professional eyes helping you with your book. You're going to get kind of a slightly bigger, if you self-publish just through Amazon and you don't, I'm not going to get into boring things about ISBNs, but you just do it through Amazon, then that's kind of your only retail outlet. If you work with a hybrid publisher, they're going to help you get your books into places where, okay, it's not going to be stocked in Waterstones, but somebody could go into Waterstones and order a copy. It's a much more professional looking product. And, you know, if you're a professional, you want to represent yourself and your brand to a very high standard, it's a really, really great route, particularly if you might not have the kind of profile and platform yet that's going to be enticing a kind of traditional publisher. I'm always a really big fan, and I recommend this a lot, is that if you're not sure, I mean, one, if you're not sure, have a punt at getting a traditional deal, and we can talk about that as well. But or hybrid publish your book with a great publishing partner, and go and sell a ton of copies and show that you can make a success of it. Because then when you write your next book and you go and start to look for getting an agent or a traditional deal, you have got evidence of, like, I know how to write and I know how to be commercially successful, because those are the things that a publisher is going to be looking for. So those two kind of avenues don't close down for you in the future. Kind of the opportunity of eventually kind of flipping over into the traditional track, as it were. Obviously, once you're at the kind of, I mean, Mel Robbins actually is a great example of this, because I think when she first did her first book, she self-published that, and obviously now she's a much bigger name. And I can think of there's the Australian coach Denise Duffield Thomas did exactly the same. She had her heart set on being published by Hay House. They weren't interested. She self-published her first two books, and then they came knocking, and in fact republished her first two books under their imprint. So yeah, the traditional route is going to be something that has, you know, there are a lot more moving parts to that, and platform and profile are going to play a big part in sort of catching the attention of a traditional publisher.
Maria, I'm interested to know, when you start thinking about your book, was there a particular path? I mean, you're very entrepreneurial, Maria, so I'm guessing the more kind of independently published, self-published, or the hybrid route might have made more sense for you, because you have connections, you have that ability, the understanding of marketing.
I absolutely was thinking of that. And actually, I have a question based on what you said regarding that, because you said if you can sell a ton of copies, then you could look at, you know, a publisher. So what's a ton of copies in the non-fiction world?
Well, that's a good question. And obviously self-publishing is slightly different in hybrid publishing than when if you've traditionally published and you kind of get kind of a, you know, retail spread from sort of all the outlets. It's difficult to put a kind of thing, you know, if you sold if you could sell sort of between 2,000 and 5,000 copies in your first year, that would be considered to be impressive. You know, traditionally published books might not do that. Like, it's, you know, it's a kind of tough market out there. And I think one of the things that people get to publication day and go, okay, job done, end of the journey. That was a great personal goal that yes, that is that moment. But I always like to remind people that your journey actually starts the day the book comes out, because now this is where it all kind of kicks in. And why, you know, we were talking about how writing a book can help in your speaking career. I also like to look at how having a speaking career can really, really help promote your book, because you've got the opportunity, you know, selling copies from the back of the room at the most simplest way. And so if you're incredibly engaging on stage and you've got 500 people in the audience, how many copies of those are you going to be able to sell at the end of your event? The other way, a great way of doing it, is if you're doing a lot of corporate speaking. I know a lot of people sort of sometimes in the early days might say, I'll waive my speaking fee if you buy 200 copies of my book. And obviously you're then still making, as the author, you're still making some money that way. But, you know, there's an adage about you make more money giving your book away than you do actually selling it. And it's sort of thinking in those terms about how am I, I'm sure in much the same way that you would plan, well, where would I like to focus, you know, my attentions in getting book to speak? The book becomes a kind of natural part of an add-on for that as well.
Brilliant. James, did you have a follow-up question?
No, I would just think, I mean, one thing I've noticed on that, I was talking to a co-writer I'm doing something with just now, and she just published a book, and she said one of the things that the publisher said they were really focused. In fact, they didn't even want to put in a glossary or certain appendix because paper's more expensive now, I'm told. And so you're seeing this push size of book, number of pages, kind of condensing these books. And I know the past couple of speaking dates I've done, and I've been there with other speakers who are hybrid published or even traditionally published. And I look at their books and they're about this size. They're thin, so it makes it really easy to take them on the road or have them shipped to different places as well. And so I wonder if that is a trend that we're going to see. I remember speaking to, I think it was a speaker who was, I think it was actually, they might have been with Hay House. And Brian Tracy, sorry, not Brian Tracy was a speaker, and his model was to publish a new book every 3 months, because he said the publishers have got such a short attention span. He wanted to show that there was one in every quarter in every cycle, and they were small books, and that was his whole game plan. He wasn't doing like a Yuval Noah Harari like Sapiens book. And so I'm interested to like get your take on that, because you must work with different speakers, authors who have those big books in them, like those Gladwell research-driven books, and other people who that's not their thing, that's not their voice, or that's the topic doesn't suit that as well.
No, absolutely. I mean, just very quickly, just to go back to the beginning of your content. I mean, the thing about paper costs is actually kind of a very recent thing, and it's a big thing in the publishing industry at the moment, because of obviously just, you know, what the last couple of years and Brexit and the pandemic has been like. So that is a big factor, and we're going to see increasing supply chain issues, which is an argument in a way for being to think about doing it yourself, because you do have, there's a bit more agility. I suspect Amazon is probably going to be somebody that never runs out of paper, but you know, the print on demand model is quite effective that way. In terms of sort of the length, I mean, often you'll find that hybrid published books are probably between the 30 to 40,000 word mark, which, you know, that's about 4 hours of talking, which sometimes people think, oh, I could never write 40,000 words, but 4 hours of talking I can handle. Traditionally published non-fiction in this space would maybe get up to sort of 60, maybe 70,000, but you're not really looking a lot longer than that, like, as you say, unless you're doing these big think pieces. Because people don't need to know 90,000 words of every single thing that you know on the subject. It doesn't make a kind of a workable book. The interesting thing that you said about the Brian Tracy, I mean, a book every 3 months is great if you are a good marketer, because if you think about it, you're constantly having to, I mean, it gives you new content and fresh topic, but if you know that you've got kind of a good audience and a good route to market and a good funnel, then actually you could build a really, really kind of eager following from people who are hanging on your next book every quarter. You could actually also investigate a really interesting subscription model there, I think, as well, if you know that you're delivering some really kind of, you know, I always like to encourage, I'm a big fan of kind of the sort of business side of it as well in terms of online learning. So I think also it's quite interesting if you think about, if you've got a keynote speech and you expand that out into a book, where could you then further take your content in terms of thinking about online learning and creating courses? And, you know, what is the book that somebody could buy? What is the course that somebody could take after they've read your book and they want to go deeper and they want to learn more?
That's almost like a classic, you know, something like a Brendan Burchard would do a funnel like that. Advert to free postage and packaging book, 2-page, you know, 2-click thing, up to low-priced online course, up to subscription or live event, in-person event, up to keynote. And so there's a whole, and basically every 3 months he just rolls out a new
very
version
good. And that's a great example of when I said, you know, you can make more money giving your book away than you can selling it, because he just does the P&P. I mean, you know, there's kind of you know, like kind of logistics involved in that, but actually, I mean, and this is where I can get really kind of nerdy and talking about your value ladder and your kind of the client journey, because, you know, a book, if you think about the top of your you know, very high note keynote speaking, your book is a tripwire. It's the one step above your free content,
which I hate. Can I put this out? I hate that word. I think it's used by American marketers. The idea of a tripwire, of you're putting someone in order to set off some explosion, makes me queasy, and so I call it a self-liquidating offer, because I just
yes, okay. I see. There's an explosion of creativity, and
so I think we should get some more Britishness. Yes, we should get some British phrases in here rather than these Americans dominating everything.
Yes, well, it's like a digestive biscuit.
Fantastic.
Everything through the metaphor medium of cake is fine with me, but no, it is exactly like, you know, self-liquidate. That's a great thing, and in fact, you could kind of stack those. Again, this is, I get very nerdy about this, but it's interesting when you start to think about how you might do paid advertising to kind of promote your book, because it is that model of, like, you know, it's a low cost entry into your world, and then you can and the ads, the money that you generate from that kind of fund the ads, and that's where the self-liquidating part. But then somebody is in your funnel, and they're keen for more content and more learning and teaching from you. And I'm a big fan of, actually, there was a series of episodes on the podcast where I did an episode on sort of different kind of funnels. And, you know, the thing I also say is, what do you want someone to do when they've got to the end of your book? Because obviously go and leave a review on Amazon would be nice, but what if somebody wants to go further with you and they thought, this is great, how do I? So it's always worth thinking about, how can I take somebody further outside of the life of the book? How can I extend what it is that I'm an expert on? And, you know, whether that's an online course or a membership or you know, events, retreats.
And I think it's great, because now we're getting into this hybrid in the terms of online, offline, and for so many authors, they're just thinking English first if they're an English speaker, but suddenly all of those books, all of those funnels, all of those courses, all of those things can be in Spanish, Portuguese, Mandarin, whatever the things. And so suddenly you explode from having just one idea. There's one core concept that probably makes up a speech. Probably someone watching this, you're already giving this speech. Suddenly you have this huge business around it.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's interesting, you know, also because I'm sure you've seen in the speaking industry in the last couple of years that, you know, hybrid is a word that's very much in your lexicon as well, in terms of events and whether things are live and online as well. So it completely opens out. You can be doing it from your back bedroom in Scarborough, and you can be talking to people all over the world. And the translation thing is really interesting, because obviously, you know, sort of normally one of the benefits to having an agent, because actually I have a client in the agent, so she successfully self-publishes and funnels people into a membership. I actually got her a deal in the UK, which she turned down because financially she makes more money from self-publishing. But what that allows me to do is still then go and sell her rights in translation or audiobook, because she doesn't have that. Now, you could go and find yourself a translator in lots of things, but actually, you know, that's one of the places where an agent can really, really add value, because we can then go and do all of those deals with all the foreign markets for you.
So that role, the agent, I'm hearing that word agent, Maria. This is always something I've always wondered about bureau, because your experience with bureaus, I never understood why bureaus didn't adopt more of a 360-degree model.
I know
they made a little bit of money out of the speech, but they've got, like most speakers like us, we have online courses, we have subscriptions, we have memberships, we have books, we have all these other things. I'm like, why do they not have these other divisions, parts of them? Or maybe I'm missing it, but most of them, I don't see them having someone like, we're having this discussion about this agent or this almost like manager in the middle that has this bigger view of that speaker's career.
Because there's too much money to be made just selling the speakers to speak.
Okay.
Quite frankly, there are models where that whole 360 exists for a small number of people, but to do that 360 is pretty, you know, you need somebody who really knows what they're doing, and you need to set up a whole team, and it's not as lucrative. It's not as lucrative. It's not as easy. The bureau model is one of the simplest models you can get. You don't have any stock. You literally are selling on demand. You're attracting the inquiries, you're doing the deal, and then two professionals then work together. You're brokering the deal, and the two professionals go and do their very best. The client is a professional, the speaker's a professional, they want the best result. You sit back, you take your margin, your commission, and you holiday in the Bahamas.
So
it's just too simple.
Why don't the publishers then go this route and say,
some
okay,
do,
all
some do.
all this money? And so how does that work? Can I, if I want to sign with a traditional publisher that has like a real heavy duty bureau part of it, does that exist?
They're starting to. I think there are a couple. You're more likely to find that taking place at the agent level, and there are, and even at the BKS agency, we're relatively small, all the way up, the big agencies like Curtis Brown or they often will have separate silos that is just about speaking, or Curtis Brown will have for actors and all that kind of, at the BKS agency, we will manage somebody's rights in terms of just for their book and for film and TV and all those sorts of things. And ultimately I would love to be wrapping kind of speaking into that as well, because I want to build a relationship with the talent that's about their long-term career and that really is quite 360, about where they want to, the platforms on which we share the knowledge is, it's changing so much at such a rate, I think. But I think publishers are quite risk averse, I have to say. But it'll be interesting to see if that kind of changes over the next 5 years, and they become, because there are a few a little bit more of that sort of having event companies, I think. But yeah, I think it'll be good to see that happen. I agree.
Maybe Maria, maybe we need to convince Amazon to get into the speaker bureau business. They have all the data. They could build a pretty amazing speaker bureau, I'm guessing.
I can feel the letters flying in saying, don't do it. Don't do that to us. Anyway, so I have a question for you. This is a personal question. I'm going to stick it in here. How do I get a book deal?
So, well, you could come to the How Do I Get a Book Deal event that the BKS agency are running in London at the end of February.
You're on.
So to get a book deal really means how do I get an agent? Because the vast majority of publishers do not accept unsolicited manuscripts. A couple do, and more of the small niche independents occasionally do. But Penguin, HarperCollins, Random House, Hachette, they don't accept unsolicited. So it's really, really about finding an agent. And if we're talking nonfiction, because it is different for fiction, you don't have to have written the whole book. You just need a proposal and some sample material. And then every agent tends to have slightly different kind of submission guidelines. The best thing is to get yourself a copy of the Writers and Artists Yearbook. I'm just looking to see, it's buried back on that shelf behind all my authors' books. And that's a directory of all the kind of agents in the UK. There is the equivalent in the US. It's called the Writers Market. And that will list all of the agents in the UK and sort of their areas of specialty. So, for example, with the BKS agency, we're very clear that we don't do poetry, for example. It's just a bit too specialist for us, so we don't have those connections. And then it's about putting together a really great pitch to get yourself the agent. And then the agent is going to, I like people to come to me kind of with a fully formed idea or a kind of a real sense of conviction about what they want to do, but that's also open for us to have a conversation so that we can help shape it, that I can bring my knowledge and expertise to the table, so that when I come to send it out, that I know that, okay, I know 20 editors in London that I can send this to that I think are gonna like that. So really it's about looking at what's out on the market. And again, we are going to cover this on our event, and it's understanding how publishing works and what people are looking for. I was chatting to an editor this week, and it can feel tricky, because she was sort of saying, well, it needs to be relatable but not too broad, and it needs to sort of be niche but at the same time be quite universal. So
yeah,
exactly. It's understandable that it can feel like a bit of a minefield. You do need to know that you've got a really quite strong hook for the book, and they are looking for the big mainstream publishers are looking for either somebody who is a really recognized expert in their field, that might be coming from academia or, very high, a kind of C-suite business and has got that proven track record, or they've got a big profile, and if they marry the two, we've seen some really big bestsellers. For example, TikTok is now the platform, and there are lots of, and I think TikTok's actually a very interesting platform that I suspect lots of people are kind of disregarding as being just about cat videos, but actually educational content on TikTok is going massive, and there have been some books published recently from therapists, for example, that have come through because they've got a very big TikTok following. So yes, it's thinking about what is the hook of the idea, that it's sort of same but different. Publishers like a bandwagon, and that that you're kind of bringing a fresh perspective to whatever the topic is.
Okay, I have a follow-up question. So, because I'd like to know, how much is that going to cost me then if I find myself an agent? Do I pay the agent, or does the agent get paid?
That is a great question. Publishing maths is genuinely one of the most confusing things. So the way that it works is an agent will take a commission, will take 15% for a UK deal and 20% for a US or translation deal. And that's standard across agenting. Like, you're not going to be able to horse trade percentage points. And that's obviously the commission for doing the deal. So the publisher would offer you an advance. An advance gets paid to you in 3 chunks, or sometimes 4, depending on who the publisher is. That's usually when you do the deal, when you deliver your manuscript and it's accepted, and when your book comes out. So you get those 3 chunks. So say you get an advance for £10,000, and so the publisher gives your agent the money. The agent keeps their 15% and then passes the rest on to you, and that's yours. Once your book has started selling, you start making some money for the publisher, and they earn back that advance. You are said to have earned out, and that is when you start earning royalties. So that's when twice a year hopefully you'll get a nice royalty check. Again, it'll come to your publisher, they'll take their 15% and then pass the rest on to you. So you're never out of pocket as an agent. So as an author, sorry. So if an agent's asking you to pay money, then that's not a particularly kind of great, that's not a sort of a valid agenting relationship. Sometimes, for example, I've had people that I've ended up becoming their agent, but I worked with them privately as a consultant to sort of help them put their proposal together, for example. But as if I've done the proposal, I know it's going to be great, so then I want to sign them up.
Brilliant. James, have you got a final question? Because it's such a huge area, and we could
have gone on, I'm sure, as well. So we're going to have a link so people can learn about the workshop that you're doing, that you just speak about. If they want to also learn a bit more about your agency and other things that you kind of got going on, your other services, like I know we didn't even get to the kind of coaching side of what you do as well, which is another part of. Where's the best place for them to go and learn about those things?
Probably Instagram is just Jessica Killingley at Instagram, because that's where I kind of talk about everything, or the Podcast Authority Show on whatever platform. I've got all of those links in my Instagram bio, to the agency, to my website, all the different kind of coaching things that I do. But yeah, I can send you a link, and I'd be really, really happy to offer all of your people a 20% discount for the event. Ooh. Because we're really keen on helping. My thing that drives me is books change people's lives, and what we do is to help get more better books out into the world, because then everybody wins. Yeah. So we're really, really keen on helping people navigate that. You can probably go and find all the information out for free on YouTube. Do you know what I mean? It's all out there, but it's not helping, it's not curating you, and it's not saving you time, because we want to really, really cut through what feels like quite a kind of closed shop, and really make it as kind of easy for people to navigate as possible, and to really sort of save some time in getting the right proposal right first time in the right hands. So that's our goal. But yes, come and say hello on Instagram. Great. I'm not on TikTok yet.
We're going to put the links. People go to speakingbusiness.tv. I'll make sure that we add that link for the workshop. So if you're in London, end of February. I'm sure you do kind of lots of them on a regular basis. So even if you can't make that one, get on the list so you can learn about future ones, or connect in person or virtually or via Zoom, or however you want to do it. We'll put all of those links if you go to speakingbusiness.tv. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today, Maria.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Jessica, you are free to go. James and I are going to do a little bit of a wrap-up piece, because we love to, after we've had a guest, we love to sort of digest what we have learned and what we're going to apply. But you're free to go, put your feet up and have a cup of tea.
I will do.
Thank you very much.
And I'm very much looking forward to seeing both of your books on a bookshelf soon.
Absolutely. I think I might be in touch. Watch your space. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica.
I wonder. Now, listen, that's not right. I'm not having you bigger than me.
No,
there
no,
you
no.
go.
Well,
wow,
I mean,
I've written so many
notes. One of those
notes.
topics we could have gone on for hours there. I don't know about you, but I have a huge respect for books and for authors and people that do that work and publishers, people that kind of support authors as well. I'm quite excited after hearing that kind of conversation.
I know. I sort of want to sort of revisit my book now.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of comments as well. So many useful and interesting tips. Thank you. Someone's asked, should I prepay a publisher to support promotion of my book? So Jessica's not here at the moment, so we'll come back to her. I'm sure she'll answer on the LinkedIn post, which will be great. So has that changed? So I do have a great respect, that statement you made about great respect for authors and people who write books. And I think that's partly what stops me, even though I've written mine, probably partly what stops me wanting to go further with it, in case everybody laughs or uses it like toilet paper.
Because we've both had to read a lot of really bad books as well.
Really good books and really good books.
And it's like when you have those, you look at your library and you see these books and think, how could I ever sit alongside those? So I guess there's a little bit of that imposter syndrome, and I think we probably all feel. And I think there's also that thing, I think Stephen Pressfield talks about it, the resistance, that kind of thing that kind of pulls you back, which is it's kind of the same for speaking. I know a lot of speakers, it kind of took them a while to get on that stage, and it's a big step.
Yeah, no, fantastic. So has that given you a different view on books? Because I've spoken to a lot of people about writing a book, and I think Jessica had some very insightful. I mean, certainly, I like the whole nerdy stuff, and I think you probably do too. Yeah, so I enjoyed the nerdy stuff, and I could go deeper into that. But so interesting, you need to have 5,000 copies to sell yourself if you want to then, take that to a publisher. 5,000 copies is not a small number, is it really? If you think about it, because I was thinking maybe I could ask James to buy 5,000 copies of my book, and then I could buy 5,000 copies of James's book. But I don't think it works like that, does it? Would you like to buy 5,000 copies of my book?
But here's the interesting thing: if someone's watching this and you're already a speaker, you're already doing virtual keynotes or virtual presentations or in-person or workshops, you have the opportunity. It's a very easy upsell doing the books. And having something but let's ensure everyone that attends this event, they get a copy of the book. So suddenly you've kind of, if you're doing, I don't know, 50 dates a year, and you're having 200 people or 500 people each, that's a lot of books you can do there. But the other one, and Jessica was kind of talking about this as well, even if you're not speaking, there's these funnels that you can build, and probably feel like Brenda Burchard is probably one of the best at it, and you can just get this kind of cold traffic coming from Instagram, Facebook, these other places, people interested in your topic, bring them to your a low-cost offer of your book, and then you then gradually take them into your online courses. So even if someone here is more like we had a speaker on the other week, it's more kind of sell from the stage type of speaker, or they're not what we typically consider as a keynote style speaker, I think having these books and creating those funnels could be so much fun. And that's the bit I when Jessica was talking to me about it, I was like, that's the bit I want to build. I'm almost more interested in building that than actually writing the book. Is that bad for saying that?
No, you love your marketing, and you're brilliant at it. So no, I can see that you were getting excited about that. So I didn't know about the Writers and Authors Yearbook. I think that's a really great tip, to have a look at that and to get an agent. And it's quite interesting because the literary agent works in a similar way to the speaker agent, in that you only get paid once you get the deal. Yeah. So they're not going to take you on if they don't believe that what you have is good. So that's quite interesting parallels there.
I think motivation, and Jessica spoke about this at the start, why are you writing a book? You know, what is
why
the
are you
purpose?
writing yours? Because you're writing one now. Why are you writing yours?
For me, it feels like when I was a musician touring, like you tour a set and you work the set and you kind of get it as good as you possibly get it, and then the final thing you almost kind of sign off that, like, you can end it in order to close that chapter and move on to a new chapter, a new concept, is you make the album. And for me, the book is a little bit like that. It's like all these things I've learned delivering the presentation. You know, you give that presentation and you get some feedback and you find, oh, that's the thing that they like that thing there. Or you travel somewhere and you pick up a new story and you add that. At the end of it, I think being able to bring it into a book to condense all of this, what would normally be a $15,000 speech, and put it into a £15 book, or $15 book, I think that's incredible value. And so I think it's a nice way of ending a chapter and then moving into a new thing.
See, that my thought there is, as you know, with my former agent's head on, my former speaker bureau head on, what will happen is you'll write the book, and I know you're moving on to new topics and you're developing your topics further. People will have the book that you've ended that chapter, and they're going to want you to speak about that topic. They're going to be bringing that topic back because the book's out. So, but
then I guess it depends what type of speaker you are. If you're the kind of, like, I always like to be that person in front, can go into the audience, hey, look over here, look what's coming. So I think if you're that type of, and not everyone is that type of, into that type of speaking, but if you're that kind of person, I think you owe it to the audience and to your reader to be going into experimenting, being out in front. And so your books are always going to follow a little bit later, because even if we gave a book to a publisher today, it's not going to be out for a year and a half. So it's always going to have that time lag. And I guess that's the other benefit of, if you self-publish, you can shorten those numbers of months.
Brilliant. So much food for thought there. Yeah. Absolutely loads of food for thought. I enjoyed that very much. So, James, I think it's time to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in. And are you off to deliver a speech or to write on your book now?
I've just done one. I'm just starting to work on my next one. I've got a call with a client just now. So that's what we're going to be doing. So now the selling bit before we get onto the speaking bit.
Perfect. Brilliant. Well, James, I will see you next week.
Thank you so much. See you next week, Maria. Take care, everyone.
Bye.